Why didn't you open more locations? Why didn't you franchise and keep expanding? I've been asked many versions of that question so many times over the years. And every time I hear it, I find it a little funny. Because today, I can honestly tell you that I didn't want the biggest bakery in town. But if you'd asked me that 20 years ago, I probably would have given you a very different answer. Because the truth is, for a period of my life, I absolutely bought into the idea that bigger was better. Like a lot of entrepreneurs do. And that's what I want to talk about today. Not because growth or ambition is bad, but because I think a lot of business owners spend years chasing goals they never stop to question. Sometimes the most important question isn't how do I make this bigger? It's why am I trying to make it bigger in the first place? If you're new here, I'm TJ. I owned and operated a bakery for more than 20 years, and this channel is about helping other business owners build a business that gives them more freedom and less stress. So if that resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe. Over those 2 decades, I experienced a lot of different versions of business ownership. I started small, and then I grew and grew some more. Then I eventually made the decision to intentionally become smaller again. And looking back, that decision changed everything. One of the things I've noticed is that business owners are constantly surrounded by messages telling them that they should want more. More revenue, locations, employees, customers, products, just more growth. It's almost as though growth has become the default definition of success. And if you're not actively pursuing it, then something must automatically be wrong. But I've come to believe that growth is not the goal. Growth is simply one possible path. And whether it's the right path depends entirely on what kind of life you're trying to build. When I first started my bakery, I was no different than every other entrepreneur. I was excited, I was ambitious, I wanted to build something successful. The business started small, then opportunities started appearing, and one thing led to another. The market stall became a retail store. The retail store grew. We added a cupcake truck. Then came another location, and then another. From the outside, it looked like everything was going exactly as planned. Because that's what success is supposed to look like, right? At least that's what we're told. You're supposed to keep growing, expanding, building, and adding. And honestly, for a while, it was exciting. There's something incredibly rewarding about watching something that you've built continue to grow, watching customers support you, watching your revenue increase, watching more opportunities appear. I enjoyed that part. I think most entrepreneurs do. But what I eventually realized is that growth isn't the destination. It's just a tool. And like any tool, whether it's useful depends on what you're trying to build. Then life happened. We experienced a family health scare. And suddenly a lot of the things that I thought were important didn't seem nearly as important anymore. It's amazing how quickly your perspective can change when life reminds you what actually matters. For the first time, I stopped asking, how do I grow this business? And I started asking, what role do I want this business to play in my life? That question changed everything, since those are 2 completely different conversations. One's focused on growth. The other's focused on purpose. One's focused on building a larger business, and the other is focused on building a better life. And when I really started thinking about it, I realized something. I wasn't actually interested in running the biggest bakery in town. What I wanted was a business that supported the life that I wanted to live. That's not the same thing. The realization wasn't that growth was bad. It was that growth comes with trade-offs. More locations meant more management, which meant more complexity, which meant more responsibility and less flexibility. Again, none of those things are inherently bad, but they all come with a cost. And I think that's the part many entrepreneurs overlook. They focus entirely on what growth gives them. Very few stop to think about what growth takes from them. Because every business decision has a price. Sometimes the price is money. Sometimes it's time, stress, freedom, flexibility. Sometimes it's the ability to simply enjoy your life. At some point, I had to ask myself, what am I actually trying to accomplish here? What's the goal? Because if the bakery was already helping me build the life that I wanted, why was I still trying to chase bigger? Was I chasing something meaningful? Or was I simply chasing the next rung on a ladder because that's what entrepreneurs are expected to do? And in that question, I realized I could actually become more successful by becoming smaller. Because success isn't about the number of locations. It wasn't about the size of the operation. It wasn't about impressing other business owners. Success was about creating a business that aligned with my priorities. So I made a decision. Instead of spreading my energy across multiple locations, I would focus on one. Instead of chasing expansion, I'd focus on optimization. Instead of trying to become bigger, I'd try to become better. And what happened next was fascinating. The business became simpler. Operations became more manageable. My focus improved. The customer experience improved and my quality of life improved. And perhaps most importantly, I actually enjoyed the business more. That's not something people talk about enough. Enjoyment matters. Life is too short to spend decades building a business that you don't enjoy. One thing I've learned is that success is incredibly personal. For some people, success is 10 locations. For others, it's one. For some people, success is building a massive company. For others, it's building a company that allows them to attend every soccer game, take vacations, and have dinner with their family every night. Neither answer is wrong. The mistake is assuming that there's only one answer. For me, the bakery accomplished exactly what I wanted it to accomplish. It created a life that I genuinely enjoyed. At some point, I had to ask myself, if the business is already doing all of these things, what exactly am I trying to prove by making it bigger? And that question was incredibly freeing because I then stopped comparing myself to everybody else. Today, one of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs making is chasing growth without ever defining what enough looks like. They know they want more, but they don't know why. And when you don't know why you're growing, growth becomes a treadmill. No matter how much progress you make, it never feels like enough. There's always another milestone, another expansion, target, or goal. And because enough is never defined, you simply never arrive. I think every business owner should spend some time actually figuring out what success actually looks like for them. Not for their competitors, or for social media, or for the business gurus. For them. Because once you know what you're building towards, decision-making becomes so much easier. Today, if someone tells me that they want 10 locations, I genuinely wish them success. If that's the life they want, I hope they achieve it. But it wasn't the life I wanted. And one of the best decisions I ever made was recognizing that. I didn't need the biggest bakery in town. I needed a bakery that supported the life that I wanted to live. And once I understood that difference, everything changed. So I'd love to know, how do you define success? Is it growth, freedom, income, flexibility, or something else entirely? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're interested in building a business that supports your life instead of consuming it, make sure you subscribe because that's exactly what we'll be talking about on this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.